Hey everyone, welcome back to another Explainer. I'm really pumped you're tuning in today because we're diving into something absolutely crucial, yet honestly kind of misunderstood in Windows infrastructure. We're talking about FSMO roles and the delicate art of Active Directory migration. If you're gearing up to upgrade your environment to Windows Server 2025, you absolutely need to know how the gears of your AD turn under the hood. So let's decode the anatomy of your network. Here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the single master solution. Second, the two forest-wide roles. Third, the three domain-wide roles. Fourth, the rules for role placement. And finally, transferring roles and upgrading. Okay, let's jump right into Section 1, the single master solution. So, what happens when changes conflict? Picture this. You've got a multi-master environment, and two system admins sitting in totally different offices try to update the exact same Active Directory object at the exact same millisecond. I mean, total chaos, right? Because Active Directory is fundamentally a multi-master database, it usually relies on a last writer wins algorithm to sort out those conflicts. And hey, normally that works. But for critical structural changes, last writer wins is a recipe for disaster. You literally can't have two people simultaneously deleting a domain or messing with the database schema. So Active Directory fixes this chaos by using a single master model for those massive, critical operations. Which brings us to the star of the show, FSMO, Flexible Single Master Operations. These are highly specialized tasks assigned to specific domain controllers to ensure absolute consistency. And, that word flexible is the real game changer here. It means if a server crashes or if you're just doing routine hardware upgrades, these roles can be cleanly transferred to another DC, so your network keeps humming along without missing a beat. All right, moving on to Section 2, the two forest-wide roles. Let's break these 5 roles down. Active Directory neatly splits FSMO roles into 2 distinct buckets. You've got your forest-wide roles, and there is strictly one of these per forest, no matter how many child domains you're running. And then you've got your domain-wide roles, where every single domain gets its own set of 3. First up in the forest-wide bucket is the schema master. Think of this as the ultimate rulebook or the master blueprint for your entire network. It holds the one and only read-write copy of the AD template. Any changes to what objects can even exist, like, say, adding custom fields to user accounts, happens right here. And because of that, changes made by the schema master have a massive, permanent impact across the board. Oh, and when you're prepping for a major upgrade, like moving to Server 2025, you'll interact with this role using the addprep/forest prep command. You'll definitely want to keep this on a DC in the forest root domain. The second forest-wide role is the domain naming master. This one is basically the ultimate gatekeeper. It handles adding and removing domains and trusts, making absolutely sure that namespace is unique across the entire forest. It literally guarantees no two domains can share the same name. And just a heads up, to manage this gatekeeper, you're going to need enterprise admin privileges. Next up, Section 3, the 3 domain-wide roles. Now we're getting into the day-to-day managers of the individual domains. Remember, every domain gets one of each of these. First is the PDC emulator, which is arguably the busiest role of the whole bunch. It's like the global watch for your network, providing authoritative time sync. And that's absolutely crucial because if your computer clock's drift, Kerberos authentication totally breaks. It's also your head security guard. It's the very first to know about password updates, bad password attempts, and account lockouts. Plus, it's the preferred target for group policy administration. 500. That's a magic number to keep in mind. Whenever you create a new user or computer, it needs a unique security identifier, or SID. The RID master, that's the relative identifier master, allocates these identifiers in blocks of 500 to your other domain controllers. This ensures your local DCs never suddenly run out of unique IDs when you're doing something like rapidly provisioning new accounts. So looking at these final 2 domain roles together, the RID master, like we just said, guarantees unique SIDs and also handles moving objects between domains. Think of it as a strict ticket dispenser. The infrastructure master, on the other hand, is your cross-domain reference updater. Basically, if you rename a user in domain A, the infrastructure master steps in to make sure domain B actually knows about that name change, assuming the user is part of domain B's security groups. It also handles updating global catalog references. All right, let's pivot to Section 4, rules for role placement. Where do we actually put these things? Since the PDC emulator is constantly handling time sync, group policy, and basically every single immediate password change and lockout, it demands the highest performance. It hits its host server really hard. So, best practice? You absolutely need to place the PDC emulator on robust hardware that can handle a serious volume of transactions. Now watch out, because here's a classic Active Directory trap. You must keep the infrastructure master far away from your global catalog servers. Do not place them on the same server. If you do, the infrastructure master basically just goes to sleep. It assumes it already knows everything because it's sitting on the global catalog, and your cross-domain updates will fail silently. The only, and I mean only, exception to this rule is if literally all domain controllers in that domain are also global catalog servers. So, to wrap up our placement strategy, keep those 2 forest-wide roles on a DC in the forest root domain. Place your 3 domain-level roles on a separate high-performance DC. You should always configure standby DCs for high availability, so they're ready to seize roles if disaster strikes. And finally, make sure your role holders are sitting in highly reliable network areas. Don't put them on a flaky connection. Let's move to our final topic, Section 5, transferring roles and upgrading. Okay, this is where the rubber meets the road. If you're executing a rolling upgrade to Windows Server 2025, you have to check your domain health first. I literally cannot stress this enough. A perfectly healthy domain is a strict prerequisite. You've got to use dcdiag and repadmin to verify replication before doing anything else. If you ignore replication or DNS errors right now and just blindly transfer roles, well, those errors are going to haunt your network forever. Fix your domain first. The actual migration to Server 2025 from a legacy system, say Server 2012 R2, is best handled as a staged rolling upgrade. This ensures continuous availability. First, you introduce a temporary DC running an intermediate OS, like Server 2016, 2019, or 2022. Second, you transfer the FSMO rules over to that temp DC. Third, you demote the legacy DCs and bump up your functional levels. Fourth, you finally introduce your shiny new Windows Server 2025 DC. And fifth, you transfer those FSMO roles over to their permanent 2025 home. When it comes to actually moving these roles, you can totally use the GUI. The 3 domain roles are moved using Active Directory users and computers. The domain naming master is handled in Active Directory domains and trusts. But watch out for the schema master. It's got a hidden trick. You won't see it by default. You actually have to open a command prompt and register the schema DLL file first. You just type reg svr32 shim mgmt.dll, hit enter, and then the Active Directory schema snap-in finally shows up in your management console. But honestly, while the GUI is fine, PowerShell is infinitely faster and way less tedious. Using the move AD directory server operation master role commandlet, you can just use simple number codes to target the roles. 0 is PDC, 1 is RID, 2 is infrastructure, 3 is schema, and 4 is domain naming. And the really cool part, you can string these numbers together with commas in one single command, like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and seamlessly move the whole shebang to a new server at once. Once those FSMO rules are safely resting on Server 2025, it's time to finalize. You'll verify that your schema version has successfully updated to 91. You'll raise your domain and forest functional levels to Server 2025. And as a really powerful bonus unique to 2025, you have the option to enable the new 32K page database feature. It offers massive performance gains, but be careful. Enabling it is an irreversible step. No going back. So we've mapped out the architecture, the placement rules, and the upgrade path. I want to leave you with a question to ponder. Are your FSMO roles placed for maximum resilience right now? Or are you sitting on a single point of failure? Take a hard look at your Active Directory setup this week and see exactly where those roles are hiding. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one.